Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Tech for Good 2021. If you're just joining us for the first time, welcome. We are really delighted that you have taken time out on this busy Saturday, beautiful Saturday morning to join us online. So if you're just joining us, Tech for Good is an annual innovation challenge organized by Engineering Good that celebrates the use of technology in helping people with disabilities and the elderly live a life of opportunities. So thank you very much for joining us online. Earlier, if you've not just joined us and if you've been here since the morning, you've heard 5 teams present their solutions and prototypes for their respective challenge statements, all under the social empowerment theme. Next up, we have a panel of speakers who will share the challenges they meet in their daily lives and how assistive technology has since improved their quality of life and their views around assistive technologies. You're welcome to post any questions you have through the Q&A function found at the bottom of your screen. Please use that. Don't use the chat, use the Q&A function, please. Our moderator for this next segment is Ms. Ling, who is the Director of Communications and Community Engagement at SG Enable. Ling currently oversees communications and in SG Enable, which is a nonprofit focal agency for disability in Singapore. Her career was 14 years in education. That's pretty much as long as I've had education. And in the social services sector, she has really a lot of experience in program development, grant making, and has also served as a vice principal in the special education school. Please give her a virtual round of applause. I'm not quite sure how that works, but please do give her a very, very warm welcome. Over to you, Ling.
Thank you. Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us today and this Saturday morning. So for those of you who have just come back from the rest of the program this morning, I welcome all of you. And if you're joining us here for the first time, welcome to the Tech for Good Festival and to our AT dialogue, Habitat, Living with Assistive Technology. So before we start, maybe I'd just like to share that closed captioning is available for this session. And if you prefer to have it on, please look for the closed captioning button and turn it on for yourself. Hi, everyone. I'm Ling from SG Enable, a Singapore non-for-profit agency for disability. Now, SG Enable has always been a strong advocate for technology as an enabler for persons with disabilities. We administer the Enabling Lives Initiative grant that supports social innovation projects, which also include TED projects. And we also co-manage with SPD and Assistive Technology Center called TechAble at the Enabling Village in Red Hill. If you have not visited Enabling Village, or what we fondly call EV, do check out our website at enablingvillage.sg, and we would love to have all of you drop by and support our social businesses. Now, for this Tech for Good Festival, my colleagues have contributed to the problem statements and also supported the participating teams in the design of their solutions. I'm very, very happy to be here today to host this session with all the speakers here today to let everyone here get a glimpse into how they are using technology in their daily life. Now, without further ado, I would now like to introduce our panel of speakers for today. We have Carole here with us today, a most bubbly and optimistic person. So Carole, having lost all 4 limbs after a cyst ruptured in her ovary, she's still living life to the max. She's currently working in the IT industry and is passionate about exploring smart home technology that enables greater independent living. Now, some of you may also be familiar with Kwek Bin, who is a strong advocate for persons with visual impairment. Now, blind person himself, Kwek Bin is the head of advocacy, communications, employment, and training at the Singapore Association of the Visually Handicapped, SAVH. Kwek Bin engages government agencies, students, and research and innovation organizations by sharing his lived experience and ideas to design solutions for the visually impaired. The third speaker with us today is Winston. Winston is a special education needs officer with Temasek Polytechnic. A former recipient of the Asian Pacific Breweries Foundation Scholarship for Persons with Disabilities, Winston has chosen to pursue a career to help students with special needs. Now, Winston has hearing loss and actively volunteers with SG Enable to give disability awareness talks to various communities, and maybe you can ask him about that a little bit more later. Our fourth speaker today is Husnah. She's an inclusion ambassador with Disabled People's Association. Husnah was diagnosed with autism as an adult, and she believes in sharing her experience of life with this, living with this invisible disability. In particular, I think the challenges that she faces with social interaction and sometimes in rather sensory environments. So her hope is to eradicate the stereotype associated with autistic people. And Husnah also works for the information technology industry. And contrary to popular belief that persons with autism struggle with language, Husnah herself can actually speak 5 languages. So maybe we can hear more from her later. And last but not least, we have with us today also Joseph, who loves animal and is currently working in Temasek Life Sciences lab, taking care of lab animals. So Joseph was diagnosed with post-viral encephalitis in 2003, and the disease actually damaged his brain's speech region. And this, of course, affected his communication. And since then, Joseph has learned to use an augmentative and alternative system, or AAC system, for communication, and you will be able to see this in action today. So without further ado, let us now give our warmest welcome to Carole, and I'd like to invite her to share more with us on her use of assistive tech. So Carole, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ling. Everybody can hear me. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can see my screen? Okay, lovely. Okay, so I'm Carole, and I recently became a quadruple amputee 3 years ago. And I'm very, very grateful that I am actually back in the workforce and working really hard. I actually would like to share what encouraged me and started me along in this journey to actually try to get back into computing and working again. One of the things that Engineering Good actually helped to support me was that they actually gave me this mouse track ball, and they customized it with an external wire button. So because I have no fingers, these external buttons actually help me instead of actually pressing the mouse button. So it's more agile in movement. So this was the first thing that actually started me working on my computer, which got me really excited. So just to share quickly a little video on how I actually function. And this particular keyboard, it has bigger keys, although you have to purchase it in the market. But I found it very useful. And if you notice how I work on it, you'll be able to see how agile it is for me. So let me just play for you this video. So that's me typing. Because of the big keys, it's easier for me to, the surface to catch that words. It's so much easier. And this is the setup that I have. My besties actually set it up so I can work comfortably from my bed in case I'm physically not well or a bit tired. Yeah. So I actually mounted the LCD on the table. It's a mobile table. Just bought it from Carousel at a very cheap price. And then set up the shelf with the laptop and the keyboard and the LCD. And that's how I actually move my mouse. And I click it on the buttons external. So ergonomically, it works for me at this moment. And I found it, I got used to it already. So I'm able to be comfortable. That's after about 7 months of practice. So that's my sharing. The next thing I like to share is the keyboard that I shared earlier on. This is all in white. The one that was earlier was colorful, right? I bought it from Q10 for about 100 plus. Actually, it's a bit expensive. I find it a bit expensive. So my wish list is, after searching for so many keyboards, it was so challenging to find one with big keys. And I wish that we could have something more economical, similar to this setup. And what I find interesting is instead of having the keypad, number pad at the side, it's on top and it has the right left buttons. So if you really need to toggle in your screen, you'll be able to use this at a convenient pace. And then my, my ideal wish list is, of course, at an affordable price. This particular keyboard with the mouse trackball trackpad I found at 330, which is very expensive, but it'll be nice to have something embedded and something shorter, so that I'm blessed. I have until my hands and my wrists, but my friends are shorter amputees. So when they want to stretch and use the keyboard and trackball, it might be a challenge. So it'd be nice to have something for them as well to work on, put on your lap and toggle. Yeah, so that's my sharing. Over to you, Eileen.
Thank you, Carole. Thank you so much for that sharing. I've jotted out a couple of questions that I have that I'd like to ask you, but I will save that for later. And for
Okay.
now, if I can invite Husnah. Husnah, would you like to come online and share with us how you have been using your technology? Over to you, Husnah.
Hi everyone. My name is Husnah, and as mentioned by Eileen earlier, I was diagnosed with autism as an adult. So that was just 8 years ago, and ever since then, it's been quite a journey, I would say, of learning about autism, learning about disability, and most importantly, learning about myself. So the technology that I use on a daily basis, initially when I was asked to join this event as a speaker, I was not too sure on what I could contribute. But when I thought further about it, I realized that I do use a lot of technology in my daily life to help me cope and especially to live a better life. So before I was diagnosed, I was I did notice that I use the headphones a lot. So I noticed that when I take the MRT, it does help me to focus to focus more on whatever it is that I am doing or reading, and it helps to block out these sounds, especially when I'm going through the underground. But I did not realize that it's actually one of the sensory issues I have, because I'm autistic. So as time goes by, and I realized that I need better devices. So I think initially I was using really cheap headphones, and right now the latest one I have is an AirPods Max. It's really expensive, but I think considering that I use it on a daily basis, and considering that I actually need to use it, I think it's a worthwhile investment. It took me a while to actually save up and buy this for myself. So the difference between the headphones now and before is that now with the chip that they have, I can actually get notifications. I can answer calls. I can actually, get my messages read out to me. So in a way, I think it really helps me to be connected, instead of just being on the headphones and just completely cut off from everyone else around me. And at the same time, with the technology right now, it also allows me to choose when I want to actually have more of a block. So there's the noise cancellation, and with this, there's also a transparency mode. So when I'm out and about, most of the time I can just turn it off. But when it gets too much, like in a crowded area, I would turn on the noise cancellation just so that I would be able to focus on what I am doing. And then I would also be able to just be there for a lot longer than I normally would. So that's one of the assistive technology that I actually use. It may not seem like much, but to be honest, I think it has helped me a lot. Over to you, Ling.
Thank you. Thank you, Husnah. So here we see from Husnah, she was talking about assistive tech, but we also realized that actually the technology that she's using in terms of what she's introduced as the AirPod Max is really something that is mainstream tech, and all of us also have access to it, and we also use it too. So later on, we can have some discussion on that topic about mainstream tech and how it is that we think it can be improved for persons with disabilities. So maybe I would like to invite next Joseph to share with us his experience with assistive tech, and then we will have some questions here. So for Joseph, can I ask everyone perhaps if you have any question for Joseph, do type it in the Q&A, and then we can take it at the end of the session when all the speakers have finished sharing, and give Joseph some time to actually type out his response. So Joseph, over to you.
Okay. Hi, my name is Joseph. So, I have a childhood trauma during primary 2, which is around 7. The condition is post-viral encephalitis, which is the inflammation of the brain via virus infection. Encephalitis indeed had done some harm to my left hemisphere, and I was left with speech disorder dysarthria after I'm healed from it. The speech condition definitely is a burden for me during day-to-day interaction or communication. It also pulled my self-esteem and confidence downhill, causing me to lost some opportunity that I think normal people can do. However, over decades living with this condition, I learned to adapt and live with it, thrive through the society with a strong will. I have been using AAC for around 3 years for my schools and events, and it have brought me convenience, especially during school and speeches like this. I graduated from Republic Polytechnic last year during the pandemic. Worked few part-time jobs in different sectors and eventually landed myself now as a laboratory technologist in Temasek Life Sciences Laboratory. My plans for future is to further my studies and make contributions to the world. Done.
Thank you, Joseph. Yeah, thank you so much, Joseph. Joseph, if I can just maybe share some of my thoughts so that you can kind of prepare the response, and because I think you need some time to type it. Yeah. So if later on, maybe later after the other speakers have finished sharing, if you can share with us what was your experience learning AAC for you? You know, what were some of the challenges? And what advice would you give to people who are interested to look at improving or designing communication aids for persons with disabilities? So is there something that they have to look out for? Is there something in the training that they should be thinking about that can help persons with disabilities pick up this technology a little bit more? If you can give some thought to those questions and share with us your thoughts, that would be great.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, great. Thank you, Joseph. And we've heard from 3 speakers so far, and I thought might be good for us to just, for me to just ask them a few questions following up on their presentations and their sharing before we proceed to the next 2 speakers. So maybe from Carole, Carole, can I ask, for right now, I'm guessing all of us would be working from home, right? And we have that flexibility. But I'm just wondering, in terms of your assistive tech, they play such a big part in your life in enabling you to live and to work really independently. If you will have to educate your employer about your need for tech, what are some of the things that you would like to share with them, for instance?
For one, because I come from an IT background as well, where they actually repair laptops and things like that. So, setting up needs like the HDMI, multiple ports, or for example, if they have different variety of keyboards that they can help me out with, and the mouse pads, even they come in different designs, sometimes the flatter versions. But actually, to be honest, when I started up, I actually was very blessed because Engineering Good had provided the mouse. So the mouse was the one that motivated me to go and search for the keyboard, the ideal keyboard. So when I started working, I'd come on board, even though my company is very kind, and they allow me to pace myself in my work in the first 3-4 months when I was starting. They let me rest as well, but they were also very willing to provide me technical items. But I already had Engineering Good help me out with this fundamental first. Yeah, they gave me 3 prototypes of the mouse. So you've got very customized parts like the doorbell they use for buttons. This one is an electric button. It's very creative and economical. So I was blessed that way to start out that way. Yeah.
Thank you, Carole. Carole, so you
Yeah.
mentioned earlier that you were also from the IT industry, and
Yeah.
I guess that kind of helped you a little bit in terms of picking up the tech that you are using. Perhaps would you have in your experience, let's say with some of the friends that you have made, do you see that picking up technology is something that comes quite naturally to people, in this day and age, or do you still think that there are certain things that we kind of need to do in order to encourage some, persons with disabilities to really pick up technology that can enable them to live and work a little bit more independently?
Yeah, for sure. We still need to do work. There are different age group. Like for me, amputation usually happens in the elderly age usually. So to them to start on technology and to be comfortable to type and be online, have an online presence, takes a bit of motivation, and a lot of the feedback comes as I don't know how to set up, I don't know where to start. That's one challenge. Another challenge is my fellow quadruple amputees or amputee friends, and like I shared earlier, I'm very blessed to have my wrist function. They are even shorter, so to actually stretch out and type at the same time manage the mouse could be a bit of a challenge. So I feel that there is still things we can do, but I'm definitely 100% fan. Yes, being in the industry for 16 years in IT, I know what we can do if we use our minds and our engineering skills. I know we can create amazing things. We're not disabled, we're just a bit inconvenient only, but we're still able to go the distance. Yeah, so yeah,
Yeah.
for sure we can do much more.
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah,
Carole. Thanks so much for that.
you're
And
welcome.
here is a shameless plug for SG Enable. If you are not aware, we do support persons with disabilities with assistive tech, especially in the workplace. And we do provide even a job redesign grant for employers if there is a need to kind of redesign, whether it is their physical environment in terms of catering for an accessible toilet, or even, let's say, some of the assistive tech, like, for example, if you need a bigger screen, or some of the assistive tech that Carole has been sharing, SG Enable supports the employers with such grants too. So if you do come across any of your friends or any one of your family members, loved ones who are working and is a person with disability and requires some help in this area, feel free to come to SG Enable and we can try to see how we can help. Yeah. So Husna, as I was mentioning earlier, it was interesting that so for some of us, maybe assistive tech sounds like is a technology that's really only for persons with disabilities. But I think from your sharing, we realized that a mainstream tech like the Apple AirPod Max is something that is also very useful for you. So would you have any other thoughts on, let's say, what other type of mainstream tech can be useful for you? And what are your thoughts on using mainstream tech? As something that helps you. Because interestingly, I have heard from a colleague who's blind, and she shared before that using mainstream tech um, doesn't mark her out as a person with disability, and in a way, she feels that that really helps her. To use the technology in order to get on with her everyday life, because it doesn't quite mark her out as a person with disability, because everyone is using iPhones, right? And everyone is staring at the screen all the time. So what are some of your thoughts in that area? Yeah.
I would say that using mainstream tech is quite a boon for someone like myself, mainly because you don't need to get additional equipment. You don't need to get additional software. You just use whatever that's already there, and it's meant for you to actually use it. At the same time, in terms of mainstream tech, I do use closed captions as well. I think by now, with staying at home for the past 1.5 years, people have been streaming quite a lot, and on those sites they have closed captioning. It does help me to take in information, because I do actually take in information a lot better when it's typed out or written out instead of being verbally said. So when I watch shows, it's actually a lot better for me to read them rather than to try and get whatever that is being said out. It's not that I don't understand or can't keep up with it. It's just that I process the information a lot better. But with regards to when you are using mainstream tech, it does not mean that it's just for you to fit in and it's just for you to be like everyone else. There are times that I do get weird looks because I like to go for concerts before the pandemic started. So when I go for concerts, I do have my headphones on, and I sometimes get people asking me, why are you wearing headphones when you're at a concert? Isn't it a bit weird? So I do wear them on when I go for concerts, when I watch movies. It's a little bit strange. I do get asked by people, but I think as long as it helps me, it doesn't really matter so much. And yes, it doesn't really seem that strange because everyone else is actually using it too. So I think it's really great.
Yeah, thanks for the sharing, Husna. Just to share with you, I'm also someone who likes to watch things with subtitles. So subtitles are the best thing that happened to me. My first language is actually Teochew, followed by Chinese, and English technically is my third language if we go by language acquisition theories. And I have a hard time catching accents. So even when I'm going to the movies and I'm watching the Hollywood movies, sometimes I don't get what they're saying because of the accent. So I always choose cinemas with subtitles because that really helps me a lot. And I think this is where perhaps something that is started for persons with disabilities and persons with disabilities in a way being the sort of extreme end users ends up benefiting everyone. If it is universally designed, if it is made accessible for everyone, I think that really is something that all of us benefit from. Yeah, so thanks so much for that sharing. Joseph, can I ask if you would be ready to share some of your thoughts to my questions earlier? Great. Yeah, let's hear you from you, Joseph.
Hold on.
I will share on the question Ling raised in 3 segments. 1. How did I get the AAC device? 2. How do I overcome the limitations and verses in the society? 3. On which area can it be improved? This AAC has certainly helped me in my school's presentation. It allows me to express my thoughts and fulfill my ability to do presentation. Limitation-wise, I would say it's the duration that I need to prepare the speech and select the right voice and tone. Different voices has different accent and pronunciation, so to achieve the best audience experiences I do have to spend some time and make the settings as accurate as possible. Another thing was it is unsuitable for daily communication that requires rapid replies, especially when you are in a fast-paced environment. My school's special education counselors recommended me to use AAC for class presentation. Initially I was in quite a denial, but after some consideration I decided to try it out. I was sent to SPD for evaluation assessment, and in the end I chose this software, which was the most compatible for my daily class presentation. My AAC was quite well suited for my needs. If I were to pick on the improvement would be the voices and language, as there are only English which is applicable for me. Voices, or rather accent, I would point out, people in Singapore might not be able to adapt to the AI voice, which might cause some confusion.
Okay.
Thank you, Joseph. That was actually very insightful for me. I mean, I guess I didn't quite think about the accent part, and also, you know, in terms of tone and how hard that will be in a way to manage in a AAC, because, you know, as humans, we kind of just change our tone, you know, according to whatever it is that we're expressing. But to kind of, you know, have to type out your responses and then have the AAC be able to say, you know, what sort of tone I should convey that in. I think that's really something that, you know, it's never occurred to me. And thanks so much for that sharing. Yeah. So I'm mindful of time, and we will have opportunities for Q&A. I see some of you typing in the Q&A box, and we'll take up some of those questions at the end of this. On this note, I would just like to also thank all the participants for your encouragement. My panelists, if you're not aware, some of them has been typing in the chat, and they're saying that, you know, how wonderful and how inspiring your sharing has been for everyone here. So thanks everyone for the support, especially also from all of you here in the audience. So next up, if I can invite Kwek Bin, who will be able to share with us more from his own experience, and also I think his experience working in helping other persons with visual impairment to be more familiar with assistive technology. So Kwek Bin, over to you.
Right, thanks, Ling. So hi everyone, I'm Kwek Bin. I work at Singapore Association of the Visually Handicapped, and I'm visually impaired myself. So what happens is my main job was to teach IT to the visually impaired. So I started out mainly with computers and moved on to smartphones. Yeah, the interesting thing is I actually learned most of what I know about IT on the job over my about 10 years at SVH. So yeah, it's a sort of a case in point that a lot of this knowledge is not widely known. So I guess it's part of the challenges of being visually impaired and trying to work with the technology. But once you do know the technology, is quite an enabler. So one personally helps the person using the technology. Then the next step would be to let more people know about this. And it's not just about the general public, even visually impaired themselves will know about this sort of technology. So what now, I think is we need to let more people know, more visually impaired people know, as well as let more general public know. So I'll show you two kinds. Right, so basically, I just mentioned, I teach computers and I teach smartphones. So I'll give you a little demonstration of how I use computers and then how I use smartphones.
Media controls.
Right, so
Camera, search box, edit, type of text.
can you hear the
Media
sound?
controls.
Can you help me confirm?
Yes, we can hear the sound. We're good.
Right, so there are various kinds of software. So wait, first off, my kind of visual impairment, I'm what we call a partially sighted person, so I can still see something. For me, I can still actually read words, but I'm reading at the pace of, let's say, 1 hour per A4 page. So that's, I guess you would appreciate that that's not going to get me anywhere if I want to do work seriously. So I use this type of software called screen readers. So there's screen readers for computers, there's screen readers for smartphones. What the screen reader does is it reads the screen to you, right? That's why it's called screen reader.
Media controls.
So I can check, so where am I?
Zoom, Kwek Bin status.
And if you're a screen reader user, you basically won't touch the mouse at all. You learn to use the keyboard instead. So actually all of you can use your own keyboards to control computers. You just need to learn what combinations of keys on the keyboard to press and what to do. So most people just type the ABCs, but you know, there are all these keys at the side which you can use. And if we combine them with your ABCs and 1, 2, 3s and others, you actually can do quite a lot of things on the computer.
Refresh button. Upcoming meeting tab,
So
text
like, yeah, I can explore my Zoom screen.
Windows D. Folder view list 2. Dropbox. Folder view
I
list 2.
can go to
Dropbox.
my desktop.
To move items, use the arrow keys. To edit, select
I
items, press
can
2.
switch between, I've got quite a few open windows now.
Zoom to move to media controls. Post at media control. Inbox /Kwek Bin. Dialog underline. Inbox /Kwek Bin tab. Outlook. Inbox
My
reply.
email.
Engineering code. Starting now. Text. Control N. Untitled text message. Left there. HTML.
Yes,
Right there.
send an email.
Tom Enter. To edit topic. Semicolon.
I can double confirm by red.
BCC edit type of text. Subject edit type of text. Alt plus U. SELF. Self. MESSAGING. Messaging. Self messaging. Message left there. TSISSAMESSAGE. Message. TO2MYSELF. Myself. Period. Blank. This is a message to myself.
Right, so you can hear I'm like, as I type, it tells me what I'm typing. If I move around, it tells me what I've typed, what's on the screen. I can do like,
Period. Blank. Period. FLESYM. Space.
right, check my spelling, go word by word, highlight things,
Is selected.
I think so like that.
This is a message to myself. Alt S. Inbox /Kwek Bin tab. Outlook. Outlook. List box. Engineering code. Starting now. Text for good 2021. Tab 6/11/2021. 9:21 a.m. 139 KB. 26731. To move the item, press the arrow keys. Windows D. Folder view list.
Right, so as the message comes in, the software will tell me, oh, your email came in, of course with the your typical sound effect, but the email will get read out as well, or at least a preview of it. If it's too long, it probably won't read the whole thing. But anyway, yeah, so I guess that's the whole idea of computers.
Media controls.
Right, so let's stop it for the computer. And then now I'll share what I do on my phone. So I teach the use of iPhones as well as Android phones. My favorite device between an iPhone and Android phone is actually the iPhone. So it's very similar to what the comment that Husnah was making, right? So the idea of inclusive tech. So I do often share with these people how, with people that I talk to, how a case in point about inclusive tech. So an iPhone is a marvelous piece of equipment for someone who is a screen reader user. But it is inclusive technology, right? On the other hand, you have this other thing which is, right? Okay. Okay, on the other hand, you have this other phone. It's an Android phone, so it's not because it's an Android phone. But anyway, so it's an Android phone with physical buttons. The main point about that particular Android phone is that it has physical keys. So this point is quite valid. Smartphone touchscreen technology has come quite a long way, so that you actually can use a touchscreen smartphone even if you're totally blind. But there will always be this like relative discomfort with using that you can't really feel. Right? So what the Android phone has done is that particular model. They came out with a phone with still physical keys. So you can use the keys to navigate the screen with the voice. So the equivalent of what I'm using here. Wait, so let me up the volume. So yeah. Okay. Unfortunately, I shared screen at the point where my volume is off. Can you hear anything?
Yes, we can still hear, but it's a little bit on the soft side compared to the previous sharing.
Yeah, sorry about just now. Should turn up the volume before I share screen. But anyway, so I was telling you about this Android phone with physical keys. So the point about having physical keys is valid. It does make a lot of visually impaired people more comfortable because there's something to feel. However, the problem is those keys are rather thin and narrow and a bit hard to press. So you do end up being like even less productive with that kind of a phone than an iPhone, a mainstream piece of iPhone. So even a mainstream piece of Android phone could turn out to be easier to operate than that phone with a special design. So sometimes it might not really be necessary to create assistive technology. So that particular phone with the physical keys actually counts as a piece of assistive technology. So sometimes it might not really benefit as much to have a piece of assistive technology as a piece of inclusive technology, which is well designed. So yep, so back to the demonstration of my phone. So you see this little rectangle on the screen that's moving around. So what happens is I'm flicking my finger across the screen. So as I do this, so it's reading things like App Store, how 351 updates available, Safari, social folder, 4 apps, how many items. If I want to select this, I can just tap the screen quickly with one finger twice. I don't even need to know which part of the screen I'm tapping as long as I do it properly. Right, so click around. I select that. So you can read all your Facebook pages, posts without having to look at the screen. And yeah, honestly, you can read the whole post at one go. So it makes life quite convenient until you want to like zero in on particular words, but there's still something you can do with that. So I guess I will stop here. I don't think we have a lot of time to do this. But I guess all of you got the idea, right? So how technology can be quite enabler if you know how to use it and if you know what are the options. Oops.
Thank you, Kwek Bin. We will save the questions for you till later. And if I can just hand over the time to Winston, our last speaker. So Winston is also living with an invisible disability. He has hearing loss. And maybe we'd like to hear from him how his experience of technology has been. So over to you, Winston.
Thanks, Eileen. Okay. All right, is my screen on?
Yes, we see your screen is good.
Okay, thank you. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking your time to join us for this AT Dialogue, Tech for Good 2021. So this is actually my second time coming to this engineering goods talk. So I was invited by engineering good last year as well, together with Kwek Bin, right? So just to please bear with me. I'm the last speaker, okay, before we move on to the final part of this session. So basically a little bit about my disability. All right, so I name it as a life where sound is a luxury. I think most of us, I would say when I ask people without hearing loss, they generally don't really appreciate, how much sound is valuable to them. So for myself, it was until I lost my hearing, then I started to appreciate sound more and more. Okay, so this is basically my disability. I have bilateral sensory neural hearing loss, severe to profound. So it is irreversible. Okay, there is two kinds of hearing loss. The first kind is temporary, you can be reversed. All right, so for example, if you dig your ears too deep with the earbud, right? If you pierce your eardrum, all right, you will still heal back. Your hearing will still go back. But for myself, it's because my hair cells in the ears, in the cochlea are damaged, so the hearing loss is permanent. Okay, so my hearing loss was discovered at the age of 4. Right, for reasons unknown till today, and I started to wear hearing aids at the age of 10. Okay, so now I'd like to show all of you basically how to quantify how the hearing loss is like. This is what we call an audiogram. When you go and see an audiologist to check on your hearing, this is what you will see. So basically going from left to right is the pitch, okay? So basically it's a frequency, low frequency to high frequency. And then going from top to bottom is the volume and the loudness. So for someone without hearing loss, basically your audiogram will look like this, a straight line across the top of the audiogram. Okay, so when I was first diagnosed at the age of 4, this was my hearing loss at a mild level. Okay, just slightly below what people without hearing loss is like. But now I last went for a hearing check about 2 years ago. This is my level of hearing loss right now. Okay, so basically this means that if you see this point over here at the left side, it means that without my hearing aid, the softest sound that I can hear is 75 decibels. So 75 decibels is about as loud as a dog barking right next to you. Okay. All right. So yeah, enough about my disability. Let's go on to the exciting part, which is my AT devices. All right, tech for my own good. All right. So first of all, and the most important piece of assistive technology for me are the hearing aids. Okay. So my hearing aids are Bluetooth enabled. Okay, they are able to stream music and calls directly. So basically, they are just like the earbuds, that like AirPods and whatever. All right. So this is a picture of how my hearing aids look like. So I put a $1 coin to compare the size of it. So it's actually pretty small. Okay. So it's programmable. So what I mean by programmer is that, for example, let's say I'm in a room right now, a very quiet room, no one talking. The hearing aids will automatically focus on the background noise. So for example, like the fans and the aircon, okay, or the bird chirping outside. But the moment someone walking and talk to me, it will soften all the background noise and then amplify the person's speech. Okay. So it's also water resistant. It's not waterproof. It's water resistant. So I think some of the hearing aids company are trying to come out with waterproof hearing aids. So this is also quite a big deal for some of us who are hard of hearing, because I used to love swimming a lot, but ever since I needed to wear hearing aids, it became a phobia to me, because I didn't want to go into the swimming pool without my hearing aids, and then if something happened, I don't know. So yeah, it becomes like a phobia to me. And then currently some of the hearing aids, my hearing aids uses disposable batteries. So a battery lasts about 1 week. Okay, also nowadays there are more and more up and coming hearing aids that use rechargeable batteries. Okay, and cost. All right, so I think I would like to pause for a moment, maybe let all of the audience here guess how much do you think my hearing aids are? Please type in the chat.
Hazard a guess, how much is Winston's hearing aids? Yeah, we have some guesses.
1,000, 3,000, 10K. Okay, yeah. I think one of you got very close 10K. Actually, my hearing aids cost 12K. Okay, and these are actually the middle range and not even the higher range. The higher range costs about 15 to 16K, if I remember correctly. Okay, so there are some that are actually in the thousands. Okay, those are actually the lower end one. All right, so I hope this gives you a better understanding of what hearing aids is about. Okay, moving on. So I have this alarm clock. Okay, hold on. Yeah, some of you might ask me if I'm hard of hearing, right? How do I actually wake up on time in the morning, whether it's for school or for work? So because I usually go to sleep with my hearing aids taken out, I don't wear them to sleep. So I have this alarm clock, all right? It's a vibrating function. Okay, this is the alarm clock over here, if you all can see it. Okay, so it's actually quite small. It's a circular, small, flat and circular form factor. So let me play the vibration for you guys. Can you all hear the vibrating? Yeah. So this is actually what I do when I put it below my pillow. All right, just below my pillow. So when it's time to wake up, right, the thing will vibrate. Some of the vibrations are strong enough to shake the entire upper half of the bed. So it's not just good for people who are hard of hearing. It's good for deep sleepers as well. Okay, so it's actually a life-saving piece of equipment for me. Previously, when I used to stay in university, I studied in university, right? I was staying in the hostel. My mother was quite worried for me because she was worried that I couldn't wake up on time. Yeah, so I told her I bought this vibrating alarm clock, which actually helps me to wake up for my lessons on time. So this alarm clock is not cheap; it's about 50 plus. All right, and I bought it from Amazon. All right. So the last piece of tech I wanted to show is a doorbell. Okay. So my doorbell, no, usually our not usual doorbell don't have any lights, so it just sound, correct? So this doorbell has flashing lights with sounds and vibration. So as you can see on this picture over here, the buttons outside, and then I have this portable doorbell with me. Right, they are connected wirelessly. So let me play the sound for you guys. I'm not sure whether y'all can see the light. Yeah, y'all can see the light shining, right? Yeah. Okay. So basically what it means that even though there is sound, but for us people who are hard of hearing, right, we are very visual people. But we need to rely on our sight very often. So this doorbell is also actually a piece of lifesaver, especially for people who are living alone. They are hard of hearing, they live alone. If there is emergency outside or people at the door, they do not know. So with this doorbell, right, they are able to see the notification that someone is at the door. All right. Okay, so that's all I have to present for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Winston. I think that the alarm clock, I must go and get one. I can sleep through anything, so that would be a great device for me. If I can just invite all my panelists to join me again now for the Q&A part, and while they're getting spotlighted, I would just like to share my own experience with technology. So I have a couple of Xiaomi devices in my home, right? That's linked up to my Google Home. And just 2 days ago, they stopped working. And we spent more than an hour plus trying to troubleshoot to no avail. And then finally, we did a smart thing. We asked on Google and to see whether anyone else has the same problem. And apparently, people all over the world was experiencing that. And it was a most frustrating experience. And then in the end, eventually, we have to get off our butts and turn on the switches manually ourselves. So for people, for some of us, technology is really about convenience. But for many of persons with disabilities, as we have been hearing from the panelists sharing today, assistive tech is really a very huge part of their life. And it really, really enables them to be able to live or to work or to learn independently. And when some of the technological devices were to break or to malfunction, for instance, you can imagine what sort of impact it will have on their lives, right? And for some of them, perhaps it could even be life-threatening situations. So I think while we think about and talk about, what are some of the affordances of technology and how important and sometimes exciting those are, I think sometimes we might also have to think a little bit about the less sexy questions and issues of, can we purely exist with just technology? And what happens when, let's say, service standards or the products are not very well designed or not of a very good standard, and if things were to break, and then what sort of other support system then would we have in place to enable and support these persons with disabilities in that sense? Yeah. So with that, I'd like to just open the floor to Q&A. I already see some questions, so we will take that. But if I can just alert Joseph that there's one question about, are you happy with the voice that you are using? And if not, if you could choose a voice to represent you, what voice would it be? So Joseph, if you could just kind of prepare your response to that, we will come back to you later. So maybe a question for Carole. Carole, the question is asking if you are able to customize your keyboard and your mouse like you shared earlier with Habitech or with Engineering Goods help, why do you still need to buy your devices online, which may not be very sustainable? Yeah. Could you share your views on that?
Okay, so the question is if I'm able to buy my devices, meaning to say the big key pads, the keys, is it?
I think the question is if you are able to customize for your own needs, right? So if you are able to take something and customize it for your own needs, why would you still need to buy them, let's say, online?
Actually, when I first started, these were not available. They were not customized yet. So the only first gadget I started with that was customized was the mouse trackball. So I used that for a few months and I toggled between the 3 prototypes. And then finally, I went online and thought to buy something similar. So it was the mouse. But actually, by right, customize is still a wish list for me, lah, if you ask me, because I'm trying to find like the picture I showed you with the trackball and the embedded keyboard, right? I'm still trying to find something similar to that, and I'm hoping that maybe Engineering Good or someone can actually help us in that area. So we still can't get that online. I can buy it individually, separately, but even then also some of the times when I want to buy, it can be out of stock and it's expensive. Price wise, it's very expensive. So I don't mind taking something that is customized by secondhand materials or creative ways. Why not? So long as it's affordable, and it's just not for me as an audience. There are quadruple amputees, and amputees are not working, especially elderly. So something that they can also purchase, that will be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope I answered the question.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank
Carole.
you. Thank you.
Husnah, one of the audience is asking that right now, most autism resources seems to be geared towards supporting young boys. And I think research has also shown that for girls or women with autism, it's usually diagnosed at a far later age. And I think the question is, where did you get your diagnosis as an adult woman?
Okay, so yes, it's true that a lot of women get diagnosed or misdiagnosed. It's mainly because a lot of the diagnostic criteria has been geared towards boys and men. But for myself, I think I was really lucky in a sense, because I came across a book on autism, and I recognized a lot of the characteristics of an autistic person in myself. So I went to a hospital and insisted that I get an assessment for it. Initially, the doctor that attended to me did not believe me that I'm autistic, because I guess I didn't fit in with the typical image of an autistic person, especially for an autistic boy or autistic man. So because it presents differently for females. So yeah, I think at my insistence, I got myself assessed, and then I was diagnosed. So I think pretty much you can go to any medical professional, especially hospitals, and ask them for it.
Yeah, thank you, Husnah. And Joseph, are you ready to respond to the earlier question? Yeah, take it away.
Okay.
I received a question from Herc in the Q&A section asking me on which voice would I use to represent me. So to answer that, I would say, it will be good if developers can have a more local or more adaptive voice accent in Singapore. Currently I'm using an USAI synthetic sound, with American accent. So it's kind of like male version of Siri on iPhone. There are different accents that I used before, like US, Australia, UK, India, or even Greece. But USAI voices Will and Ryan are the most commonly used by me for presentation, which I think can be used to represent me currently. However, I do wish to have a voice with more localized accent or tone.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Joseph. And I think it would be great if we can have someone who can do the Singlish accent too, right? Yeah, thank you so much. I'm very mindful of time. I'm standing between all of you guys and lunch and some of the other activities. If I can just invite maybe Kwek Bin and Winston to share some of your thoughts after this session, where you also get to hear from some of the other panelists and some of the questions that have been asked. If you could just share 1 or 2 liners about some of your thoughts before we close this session, that would be great. Maybe if we can get Kwek Bin to go first.
Okay, sure. I guess we do have this common theme, I guess, where inclusive tech is something which we really like. And technology has come a long way, and it has been a great enabler. So one cannot imagine how it would have been like 20 years ago when the technology had not been so developed. But at the same time, technology is still still being developed. There's still room to develop. Like I didn't have time to mention this. There's technology which will help me to read my printed material to me. That sort of stuff cannot be read directly with the phone or the computer, or at least not straight away. And there are things like recognizing the things around you. So sometimes it's not about reading the words, it's about understanding the pictures. So the technology is working on that already. Basically, the key phrase is computer vision. So it looks like the future is computer vision. So we're looking forward to that. Yep, and yeah, this is AI as well. Basically, you notice how much of what the other speakers are sharing also, I think, has been a result of improving AI. So I guess technology is on the right track as far as helping people with disabilities go, and I guess we can only keep looking forward with great anticipation and excitement. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Kwek Bin. And Winston, from you?
For myself, I think all of us can agree that over the past decades, technology has been improving by leaps and bounds. So not just for AT, but in general, technology. So I believe that all of us can look forward to better tech in the future. But for myself personally, right, I feel like one thing that can be improved on right now is actually the speech-to-text function. Okay, so what happens is I'm hard of hearing, so I need to lip read a lot. So nowadays, the COVID pandemic has been a really difficult time for me because everyone is wearing a mask. So, and I often have to ask people to turn on their video cameras, like now, so that I can hear what this person is saying. So, but the thing about speech to text, right, is that it's very dependent on your accent and the pronunciation. And for myself, people who are hard of hearing, not just myself, but others as well, we are more accustomed to our own accent. So like myself, I'm more accustomed to the Singaporean accent, which unfortunately speech to text is not very suitable for our English accent. Yeah, so sometimes it becomes even more confusing for me when I read those captions rather than hearing from you yourself. So, but as I mentioned, I believe that tech is improving all the time. Microsoft or Google, they are doing their best on this. Yeah, really looking forward to the near future on this. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Winston. And so on that note, I would like to thank all the panelists here for joining us and for your very informative and candid sharing. Some of the speakers I'm meeting for the first time, and I'm really, really fortunate to have met your acquaintance. I'd like to also thank Engineering Good for inviting me to moderate this session. I had a really enjoyable and, more importantly, educational time. And I see the participants have stayed throughout. So I think this has been a really wonderful session. A great shout out to the participants. You guys have been wonderful with your comments, with your questions, and I hope you will enjoy the rest of the festival and all the programs that's been lined up for you. So on that note, thank you everyone, and I must say a great shout out to Engineering Goods team, Denise, who has been supporting us for this session. All of us are like relying on her and her team there. So thanks everyone, and I wish all of you a great weekend ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. Hold on. Before you guys go, we want to take a nice smiling picture. So what we've been trying to do in the background is that we've been trying to screenshot, but every time we screenshot, the chances of getting somebody's face wrong is very high. So can we all get the panelists to just look into your screens and give us a quick smile? Denise is going to take a couple of nice screenshots for everybody, and then we will be taking a quick 10-minute break for a little bit of a bio break. And for those of us here in Mission Control, we're all going to wolf down our lunches in 10 minutes. All right. Thank you very much for smiling so sweetly at the camera. And thank you to all the attendees for participating in this discussion on assistive technology. Thank you, Carole. Thank you, Husnah. Thank you, Kwek Bin. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Winston. And of course, thank you, Eileen, so much at SG Enable. We really love the partnership. For those of you who are listening and who definitely want to be assisting and helping out, please just get in touch with either Eileen. I'm going to tell you, get in touch with Eileen or get in touch with us at Engineering Good. Please come assist with us. If you want to help, for example, look for cheaper keyboards or assist with recording a Singlish version of the AAC for Joseph, we'd be very, very happy to be working with you. Okay, we're going to take a quick 10-minute break. See you back here at 12:15 p.m. Okay, see you back at 12:15. Thank you very much. Bye for now.